Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the Architect. I'm here for the first ever edition of Tuesday on Fresh from the Lab. Get ready. This tune right here incorporates some classic vibes. It's called Broken Heart Society. Check it out.
On a Tuesday, Tuesday, on a Tuesday, Tuesday, going up on a Tuesday, going up on a Tuesday. Got your girl in the cut, she Tuesday, going up Tuesday.
Fresh musical produce in the jungle.
Only on DrumslingaTV.
So when it comes to how I made this track, I started off with a sample that I really liked with a groovy bass line from this 70s group called the Jones Girls, and it was a disco track. It was called You're Gonna Make Me Love Somebody Else. And just so you can get an idea of that, that's the main sample that was used in the track. You can hear it if I play this part right here. Actually, that's not it. So this sample is actually a different sample that I got just off the internet, and it's from a vocalist, a royalty-free sample. And the coalescence of that sample and then the sample from the Jones Girls, which is actually a sample that I used together with a bass line that I made here. So let's just take a look and listen to this bass line. And this bass line is coming from Astra, which is a synth that Splice makes, and then also use Serum and a reactor plugin that is really good is called Monarch. I use that for my sub bass pretty often. So I use those three together, come out with this, and then that supports the overall bass line, which you can hear in the track. And I incorporated in the original bass line from the Jones Girls. Let's see if I can listen to just that. Yeah, so I used those two along with the bass line that we were just playing, which is this one. And you can see how those kind of blended together pretty well. And yeah, I mean, just the overall, like, bringing together those two samples. And also I love to make my drums within a plugin that's no longer updated or anything like that. It's kind of old, actually. It's called Limelight, and Native Instruments came out with this years ago in this pack that they had called Electronic Instruments. And it actually came with a bunch of other cool stuff, like some synths. There was a synth called the Photone that was crafted by Photech. So it had some really cool things in there, but the one thing that has really stood the test of time for me has been Limelight. And here's what it looks like. I use this, and I actually rerouted the program in the background so that I have each of the different elements coming through a different mixer channel in FL Studio, and then I take those stems and I mix those together with some snares and some kicks and stuff that I have in my library to sort of come together and give the track the punch and the kick and everything that it needs to kind of make it something that I could play, or something that I'm at least reasonably happy with. And I was really happy with how this song came out in the end. So yeah, I went ahead and crafted all of these things up here, and my main DAW is FL Studio. Talk trash if you want, I don't care. At the end of the day, I think the main thing to consider when it comes to DAWs is just like which one is the best workflow for you. And the best workflow for me by far is FL Studio. The audio quality, everything is still great. I know that people talk a lot of trash about it, but for me, it's the best one out there. I've used Ableton, I've used Logic, I've taught classes on Logic, and you know, I've used Pro Tools, Nuendo, Bitwig Studio, Reaper. For me personally, though, I just keep coming back to this one. So, yeah, if you got a problem with FL Studio, suck it up, man. It's all about personal preference, the DAW. So this is what the arrangement looked like when I was done, and yeah, I was really proud of this track, and hopefully you guys find some kind of enjoyment in it as well. So, without further ado, on this inaugural Tuesday, welcome to Broken Heart Society.
Why you keep on breaking? Breaking my heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? Breaking my heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? My heart. Keep on breaking my heart, my heart. Breaking my heart. In my heart. You keep on breaking my heart. In my heart. Keep on breaking my heart, my heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? My heart. Breaking my heart. My heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? Breaking my heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? My heart. Keep on breaking my heart, my heart. You won't treat me the way you do. You keep on breaking my heart. My heart. Breaking my heart. My heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? Breaking my heart. Why you keep on breaking my heart? My heart. Keep on breaking my heart. My heart. You
What's up, everybody? So we're talking video games today, and there was a really big development in video games for me personally that happened. So one of my all-time favorite games finally released a spiritual successor this month, which I and many other gamers waited for almost about 20 years. And there was rumors, speculation on sequels coming out that repeatedly kept getting scrapped. The old Sega developers that joined and dropped out of the game constantly, and the years just kept on passing, and it began to seem like we may never even see a sequel or even another game from the universe that had introduced so many gamers since the Dreamcast to the concept of love. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about Jet Set Radio. This game is one of the few games from this era that I could play to this day and enjoy exactly the same, if not more so, than when it was originally released back in 2000. If you're not familiar with the Jet Set Radio universe, the game sees you as Beat, a new member of a graffiti-writing, music-loving outlaw group of teens known as Rudies, on futuristic jet-powered inline skates, outrunning the cops and battling rival crews throughout the fictitious city of Shibuya and Tokyo-to. This game really tapped into my spirit as a junglist and purveyor of street culture, even back then, and I really started to love soaring through the sky at night, tagging buildings and grinding rails past angry cops. One of my favorite things about the game was this mysterious radio DJ Professor K, who always had his ear to the streets, reporting on the latest Rudy's beef over Shibuya airwaves, while also pumping out funky beats for them to tag up the city to. So, to me personally, this game was an absolute masterpiece. Then, in 2002, Xbox released a sequel to Jet Set Radio called Jet Set Radio Future, which expanded on the original Jet Set Radio, adding new characters, new challenges, new maps, and new moves, which solidified my status as a fanboy, as I unknowingly put countless hours into the game over the years to follow, finding as many graffiti, souls, achievements, Easter eggs as I could as I honed my tagging and trick skating skills. I had become an unapologetic JSR stan, and I was not ashamed. As the years went by since the release of Jet Set Radio Future, and the game's cult following grew both in numbers and dedication, Jet Set fans started rumblings about when the next sequel would be released and what new characters and maps it may include, which led to art, fan fiction, and much speculation on what was next in the Jet Set universe. Rumors started to circulate from Sega that successor games to the franchise had been planned, and many of the original developers were on board, only to see those plans eventually be tabled, delayed, and eventually cancelled. Fans were hanging on to the slightest glimmer of hope for a sequel, as slowly and steadily, one by one, each glimmer was extinguished by talks of intellectual property disputes, upset software developers, lack of availability of the legendary music composer and supervisor for the original game, Hideki Naganuma, who crafted the epic original JSR soundtrack, amongst other issues, which ultimately sidelined each one of these Sega's projected sequels to the game. After 10 years with no viable developments in the sequel realm, JSR fans had all but lost hope that they would ever see a sequel. In 2012, our beaks were slightly wet, as there was a re-release and remaster of Jet Set Radio Future called Jet Set Radio Future HD, but the game was essentially still identical to the original Jet Set Radio Future, save for just a few graphical improvements, of course, and a couple small Easter eggs. It just wasn't what any true fans believed this engaging universe deserved. We wanted a new game. At one point, there was even fans that began developing sequels on their own, one of which was a multiplayer version of Jet Set Radio Future, available on PC, which incorporated a full multiplayer element not included in any of the prior JSR games. Fans had become tired of waiting and felt abandoned by the developers that had brought them such sweet nostalgia, and didn't quite understand why Sega and all the other game studios had abandoned what we believed was clearly their finest offering. We'd all but given up hope when a true glimmer started to appear in late 2021. This new studio, Team Reptile, had negotiated with Sega to begin development on what they called a spiritual successor to the JSR franchise, which was gaining steam and seemed to be legit. Of course, when it comes to terms like spiritual successor, it gave me pause because quite often that can mean, hey, we tried to make this as cool as the original, but ultimately settled on using this IP for a cash grab. It could be a disappointing disaster of a project, but as it was our only hope we currently had, I kept a close eye on it for developments, hoping it wouldn't be scrapped eventually, like so many other plans for sequel-related projects over the years. Unlike many of the other endeavors, though, I started to realize Team Reptile was a group of consummate professionals and continued to move forward with the development of the game despite delays and setbacks. Could it be a game studio had actually understood what this game meant to so many hardcore fans out there, and were going to do right in creating this new entry from the universe? Then we finally saw the name of the new game leaked from the studio, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and that's when it really started to become real to me. This actually might happen. A return to the universe JSR's cult followers had fallen in love with, that was actually being given the respect it deserves. Could it be that Team Reptile actually understood the concept of love?
Understand the concept of love.
After years of development, we saw a release date pushed back from the original release date, which was December of 2022, and this release date was August of 2023 for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. And of course, I was very excited about this. Now, I know many of you may not know, but due to factors outside my control, I was laid off from my job earlier this year, and although the game is already out, came out last week, I have to wait till next week to buy it and play it, which is why this is a review from the future. Since I'm a nerd though, I have been watching gameplay videos, I've been reading reviews, researching maps and tricks, and more, and from what I can tell, hardcore JSR fans seem to be loving the game despite its differences and similarities from the original JSR games. So given my experience in the JSR universe and what I've seen from the new game so far, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk has a fairly robust new city called New Amsterdam, containing new maps, crews, and characters, in addition to new ways to get around the city. The original JSR games had all the crews on the jet-propelled inline skates, and in Bomb Rush you can still ride inline skates, but there's also the Team Reptile added BMX bikes and skateboards to the mix as well, to give players a variety of ways to get around and tear up the town. Graphics seem improved also, and the controls are tight from what I've seen. And there's some interesting looking boss battles and a lot of really cool looking maps. And the police seem easy to evade and defeat as ever, which is part of the fun. All in all, I can't wait to play this game, so much so I made a review and a segment about it, and I haven't even played it yet. The JSR universe is one I hold near and dear, and I feel strange kinship to the games and to other cult followers such as myself, which is why I can feel its true spirit despite our physical distance. And the spirit is good. So here on this new preemptive review show, in my humble opinion, I'd say this looks like a 4.5 out of 5-star experience, given all I know about the past games and my extensive research on Bomb Rush so far. But look for me live streaming this game in the coming weeks. I'm going to be online playing this late night on Dark Detect After Dark, and I'll likely be sinking many hours into it on Twitch in the coming weeks. Also, keep an eye on this channel to catch the official post-mortem review, which will inevitably follow this one after I've played the game, and I'll let you know my experience and how well it lined up with my expectations from this review. So for now, I'll wait with anticipation until my copy of the game arrives, and I can get my 1 second per second of advanced funk style on and poppin'. So this is the Dark Architect signing off.